So you are thinking about moving to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but you're not quite sure what area or what city is right for you. Well, in this video, I'm going to go over 5 suburbs of the Dallas-Fort Worth area that are highly rated, that are considered some of the best suburbs to live in. So stick with me here because I'm also going to show you where they're located on the map in comparison to Dallas or the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. And I'll also go through a few houses that are for sale in that area or in these suburbs, just so you can kind of get a feel for what it's like. All this information is on niche.com. So these are not necessarily my opinions, but according to niche.com, these are some of the top suburbs of the Dallas and Fort Worth area. So the first one we're going to talk about is Coppell. Coppell is a suburb of Dallas with about 42,000 population, so not a big city at all. Right now, it is considered the #1 suburb of Dallas, Texas. There are plenty of restaurants, shopping, and parks in Coppell. There are many families that live in Coppell, and it does tend to lean a little bit more moderate in its political views. The public schools there are so highly rated that they actually rank #3 in the entire state of Texas. So the Coppell school system, according to niche.com, is very, very highly rated. And that's probably why this is ranked as the #1 suburb of Dallas, Texas. It's got things like 14 miles of hiking and biking trails. Like I mentioned earlier, it does have parks and also has an old town center. The median home value in Coppell is around $431,000. Another thing that makes Coppell such a high-ranking city to live in is its proximity to the Dallas-Fort Worth or DFW International Airport. It's only about 3 or 4 miles away. That's a huge deal if you are someone that's constantly having to fly every week for your business. And it's also only about 22 miles to the heart of Dallas. So if that's where you work is in Dallas, but you don't want to live in the big city where it has way more than 42,000 people, but you want to live in a suburb of Dallas, this is a really great one to consider because it's got a lot of proximity to Dallas. So not only is that great for your commute, but you get a lot of the amenities that Dallas has to offer, but you don't have to live there and pay those prices, and you're still close to the airport. And it still has a lot of nice shops and restaurants as well. You don't have to leave Coppell in order to get, the shopping and the restaurants. Probably not the same, as Dallas. Of course, we know Dallas is going to have a lot more to offer in the area, but you can still stay in Coppell and get the same thing. You've got other places around Coppell. You've got places like Colleyville that has nice restaurants as well. It's not very far from Southlake, and we're going to talk about those here in just a minute. Okay, so one thing I do want to go over real quick is what, according to niche.com, what makes a city rank, best, worst, or whatever. What all do they look at when they are making these, ranks and making these decisions? So they're going to take into consideration cost of living, higher education rate, so meaning how many people have a bachelor's degree. Of course, housing, they're going to take that into consideration. Public school grade, diversity grade, crime and safety is a big factor. Health and fitness, nightlife, weather, outdoor activity. There's more than just those things, but those are just some of the things that niche.com takes into consideration when they're ranking these cities. Okay, I said I was going to show you some homes for sale in each city. So these are just an example of some of the homes that are for sale in Coppell. You can see that the price ranges, this one is $729,000, then you've got $350,000, although, quite a big difference between the two houses. As you can see, $500,000, $600,000, $900,000. So, then we have over $1 million here. But then once again, we have another one that's $325,000. So I love that there are different price ranges here. However, it is, more than likely your house is not going to be in the 300,000s if you're living in Coppell, because those are few and far between. And another thing when it comes to houses in that price range, when you live in a city where the majority of houses are, 400, 500, 600, 7, $1 million. But then you have a few outliers that are in the 300s. Those are going to go very quickly because if you're wanting your student to be in a highly rated school district, it's going to cost you. But then, when you have a house that's $325,000, but you can't you can't afford $1 million home, which a lot of people can't, well, you're going to jump on the chance to get in at 325. Okay, this is going to be city number 2. Okay, so I think there is this little hidden gem that is a suburb of Dallas called Flower Mound. It is actually the number 1 city to live in Denton County. You've got Dallas County, Tarrant County, which is Fort Worth, and then you've got Denton County. So Flower Mound is in Denton County, even though it is a suburb of Dallas. It has a population of about 75,000, and it's not considered rural, but it does have kind of that rural feeling. If you're from Texas, then you know that a rural feeling just basically means you're not packed in tight, like the city of Dallas. I'm not talking about, you've got farmland for miles and there's cows and horses. No, if you're not from Texas, then that might be your thinking, that Texas is nothing but farmland with cowboys. That is not the case, although there is a lot of land in Texas that is still undeveloped. So when I say that it has a rural feel, it just means that it's not, it's just not compact like Houston and Austin and Dallas and Fort Worth. It kind of has that more neighborhood feel, or I guess people would call it a bedroom community, which basically means that it's just a suburb. Maybe you work somewhere else like Dallas, and then but you don't live in it. And so it's kind of a quiet town, things like that. So that is what Flower Mound is. It's more of a rural feel. Flower Mound offers plenty of shopping, lots of restaurants. They even have events. They have a big event at Halloween and another big event at Christmas too. Flower Mound has easy access to I-35, which takes you to Dallas. Flower Mound is about 10 miles to the Dallas-Fort Worth or DFW International Airport. So once again, a very short commute. Of course, that's also going to depend on where in Flower Mound you live, if you live close to the highway or not. But still, 10 miles is really not that big of a deal at all. And it's about 28 miles to the heart of Dallas. So once again, not a big commute there. And as you can see on the map here, Flower Mound is close to Grapevine Lake. There's also Grapevine Mills Mall that's close by for shopping. You've got Heritage Park over here. I know in Flower Mound there are lots of hiking and biking trails as well. And once again, many families live in Flower Mound, and this city does tend to lean more conservative. The public school ratings are very high in Flower Mound, as well as the last city I told you, which was Coppell. The median home price for Flower Mound is $398,000, so close to $400,000. You are going to see that it is more affordable than Coppell, which is the first city I told you about. You can already see that, the houses here, $625,000, $500,000. Yes, you do have $1 million home as well, but it does have a little bit of a lower price point when it comes to the median home price. Here's one at $370,000. There's a lot. I will say lots for sale in the Dallas area are going to be quite expensive. The closer you get to Dallas, the closer you get to the airport. No matter if you're south of Dallas, looking towards the airport, or if you're north of Dallas, it's just going to cost you to live there. It's going to cost you to buy land there. But if you go out to places that are a lot more rural, Flower Mound is not rural, even though that's how it's described on niche.com. Trust me, it's not rural. Then it's going to be a lot more affordable to live. But once again, your commute to Dallas or to the airport is longer. But that might not matter to you because you might not be a commuter. So if that's you, then, I say, move to a suburb of Dallas. I mean, this house right here at $499, cute house. Then you've got one over here for almost $2 million. So as you can see, it's another diverse price range, but all in all, going to be a little more affordable than Coppell. Okay, and the third city I wanted to talk to you about is Southlake, Texas. According to niche.com, Southlake is considered the #1 place to raise a family in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Southlake is actually considered a suburb of Fort Worth because it is in Tarrant County, which Fort Worth is in Tarrant County and Dallas is in Dallas County. And it has a population of about 70,000. It's also considered more of a rural feel because if you visit Southlake, or if you've been to Southlake, it's just not, you're not all tight and compacted in. There's actually a lot of land still that's undeveloped. And when you're driving along the highway there, it's just beautiful hills, and it definitely has a more rural feel. However, there are still a lot of conveniences in Southlake. The Southlake Town Square is a great place to go to, whether you live there or you're just visiting. It has 120 shops. It's got restaurants. They also have things like movie in the park, wine down Wednesdays, live music, and special events. Okay, so as you can see, Southlake as well is fairly close to the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, about 8.5 miles. So that's a great commute time if that's you who has to commute to the airport often because of business. It is also not very far from Dallas itself. Let's zoom out just a little bit. So yeah, not too far from Dallas as well, if that's your jam and you want to, go do date night in Dallas, easy to get to. Or if you're a commuter and you have to drive to Dallas often for work, then that's not a far drive either. It is close to Flower Mound, which I've already talked about, and Coppell as well. So you can see that all these places that I'm talking about are kind of in the same area. And there's a reason for that. Southlake, once again, has a very highly rated school district. I know I hear a lot about the football team. So they've got some amazing football there. But, when it comes to commute, and that's another thing that's highly rated on each.com when it comes to one of the best places to live. I will say, though, the cost of living in Southlake is definitely going to be higher. The median home price is about $728,000. And now remember, the other city I mentioned, Flower Mound, was $398,000, and Coppell is about $431,000 for the median home price. So Southlake is much higher than the other places that I've already mentioned. Okay, so here are just an example of some of the homes that are for sale in Southlake. As you can see already, that the prices are definitely higher than the other two cities that I've shown you. We've got 5.5 million here, 950, 2 million, 1.4. So you can see where that $728,000 median home price comes into play in Southlake. Southlake, it truly is just a beautiful city. But, look at this picture right here. That's, when I think of Southlake, this is what I think of, because there's still just a lot of land. You can see with these houses here that the houses themselves are on, fairly good sized property. You've got half an acre here. So, I don't know where you live, but here's a half an acre. And of course, they're bigger homes, so they are going to need more, bigger lot size. But if you're in a place like, New York or, certain places in Washington, a half an acre is pretty big. I live on 0.33 acres in a very old part of town. And to me, it's too much. So not all Texans are used to a lot of land. But let's look at these houses again. So you can see, I don't see any houses in here that are less than, I think this one was in the 500s, 535. That's for a lot. It's not even for a house. So you can definitely see the price point in Southlake is definitely higher. On to city number 4. The fourth city I wanted to talk to you about today is Colleyville. It is actually ranked the number 2 place to live in Tarrant County. That is where Fort Worth is Tarrant County, but it's still a suburb of Dallas and Fort Worth, the DFW area. Colleyville has a population of a little over 25,000, so that is a small city, but it still offers many conveniences like restaurants and shopping. Once again, it's also considered more that rural feel because, a lot of houses are on bigger lots and there is undeveloped land in the city. There is the Colleyville Town Center for shopping. And once again, the Colleyville school, the public schools are highly rated as well. As you can see on the map here, this is where Colleyville is, and it is about 10 miles to the DFW International Airport. So once again, not far at all. Colleyville is very close to Southlake, which I just showed you, and Coppell as well. Okay, so now you can see where Colleyville is compared to Dallas and where it is compared to Fort Worth. It is closer to Fort Worth. And like I said, Colleyville is in Tarrant County, which is the same city that Fort Worth is in. The median home price for Colleyville is about $586,000. So compared to Southlake, that was over $700,000, Then we had Flower Mound that was right at about 400,000. And then Coppell is around 431. So it's higher than two of them, but lower than one of the others. So let's take a look at a few of the homes that are for sale in Colleyville. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm looking at, 780,000, 5 million, but there's this small house right here for 279. It's 876 square feet. It's not big, but if location is super important to you, or if the school district, which Colleyville, once again, has a very highly rated public school system, if that's really important to you, but 5 million is out of your budget or $780,000 is out of your budget, well, there's at least one home that's under 300,000. And I'm going to say that's going to go pretty quickly. But that is definitely an outlier. That's very hard to find. But as you can see, most of the houses look like they are around $1 million. Here's one for 575. But most of them are going to be around 800 to over $1 million. Here's one at 450. Okay, so there are some houses that are going to be more affordable. And like I said, those are the houses that are going to go quickly. And in fact, some of them, sadly, could be even tear downs. And so what's going to happen is whoever buys that house for 300,000 or 330,000 is likely going to end up tearing it down and building on that lot. So Colleyville is a great place to live, great place to raise your family. And just like most of the other towns or all of the other towns that I've already talked about, it does tend to lean more conservative. Okay, I have one more city for you, and this one is called Highland Village. It's probably not a city that you've ever heard of before. It's very close to, right next to Flower Mound. And to be honest with you, I interchange the two all the time, but I did want to talk to you about this little town called Highland Village. Highland Village is a suburb of Dallas, but is considered the number 3 place to live in Denton County. It has a population of only about 16,000. But once again, there are plenty of places to eat, shop, and there are parks in Highland Village as well. And this town, just like the others, does tend to lean more conservative. Highland Village has the shops of Highland Village, which I mentioned that in Flower Mound, but it's just because I think I mentioned it in Flower Mound. If I didn't, they're just so close together that, really, they just seem to be like the same city, even though they're not. But the shops at Highland Village really is a great place to go shopping. There's also plenty of restaurants there. There's a Whole Foods market, which is a great place to go to the grocery store. One thing I did fail to mention about Southlake, I'm just going to mention really quick because I forgot to mention to you, there's a Central Market. Now, if you're from Austin, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, and you've never heard of Central Market, you need to look it up because it's a really fabulous grocery store. But Whole Foods is kind of similar. It's a great grocery store. And then there's also a really good Kroger that's not too far from Highland Village as well. So lots of amenities there, even though it is a very small town. In fact, I have mentioned this restaurant several times in my other videos. It's Gloria's Latin Cuisine. It is one of our favorite restaurants to go to where we can sit outside when it's not 100 or 108 degrees. We can sit outside. They have the best margaritas, black bean dip, plantains and yucca. Anyway, Gloria's Latin Cuisine. We love it. It is in Highland Village. So lots of restaurants to choose from there. Lots of shopping. It's just a great little town to live in. Highly rated schools as well. And once again, it's not that far from the highway or from the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport as well. Okay, so you can see on the map that Highland Village is 20 miles from the DFW International Airport. Once again, it's really not that far because you're not driving on back roads that are 30 miles an hour. You're able to drive on the highway. So, right here it says you can get there in 21 minutes. And of course, that's going to depend on where you live, but that is not that long of a commute at all. It is going to be a little bit further to Dallas compared to some of the other cities that I've shown you. Here's Coppell. We talked about Coppell, so you can see where that is on the map. Here's Flower Mound, which is right close to Highland Village. And then you've got Southlake in here as well, Colleyville. So they're all close to each other, but obviously Coppell was one of the closest ones to the airport. But Highland Village, it's really not that far of a commute. Okay, the median home price for Highland Village is around $393,000. Of the 5 that I've shown you, this is the lowest one. Not by much if you're going to compare it to a Flower Mound, but It is one of the lowest ones. So let's take a look at some of the houses that you would see for sale in Highland Village. Let's see. Oh, by the way, it is right off the lake. So that's fabulous. Wouldn't you just love to live right off the lake? But look, we have one right here for $342, $379. Oh, that's a lot. So never mind. But you know, $570, $575, you can definitely see the difference. When I say the median home price is $393 compared to $700,000, very big difference here. Here's another lot that's off the lake. If lake living is your thing, this is a great area to look into because there is the lake there. You know, a pool for $600,000. So depending on where you're coming from, you know, if you're coming from up north, I know a lot of people, you know, who do move from up north. It's hot here. July and August do get really hot. We have been experiencing a rather hot summer. It is hotter to me than normal. This is the only place I've ever lived. So it is a bit hotter than normal, but I know, you know, a lot of our clients that come from up north, a pool is a must because they're just not used to this heat and how long the heat lasts. So, I am a huge fan of pools. I have had a pool and I'm a huge fan. So everybody gets to enjoy them and they really are so much fun. So look, you can see the houses here, very few that were at $1 million. Here's another one for $385. Now that is in Louisville, which is right next to Highland Village. But once again, if schools are a big deal to you, then it is going to matter what city you live in. Even though some schools pull from multiple cities. If schools is a big deal, then you really need to take into consideration what city you live in. If schools mean nothing to you, then you know you can look at other factors like cost of living or just affordability or location. If you like to travel a lot, then being close to DFW might be more important to you than, you know, if you don't travel a lot. So as you can see, of the 5 cities that I mentioned to you that are great places to live around Dallas, Highland Village is one of the more affordable ones. There are so many great places to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've got a lot of videos on the city of Denton, which is just north of Dallas and Fort Worth, so make sure that you check those out. I am Jennifer Fowler, and along with my husband and partner, Brandon Fowler, we run Fowler Realty Team here in the North Texas area. And we have people just like you reaching out to us all the time about moving to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we absolutely love it. So if that's you and you're looking to move in 9 days, 9 months, or 3 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, or you can send us an email. All the information is in the description below. And if this is your first time to our channel, make sure you like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know everything there is to know about living in the Dallas-Fort Worth, or what I call the North Texas area. And make sure you check out our other videos and be on the lookout for more coming in, and I'll see you on the next one.